I always just told myself, just try one more time. It's like, okay, I failed. Some of the failures, like sometimes it takes like 3-4 months till you want to get back on the horse. But keep trying different things because you will figure it out if you don't quit. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Eat, Sleep, and Invest. I'm your host, Brian Driscoll, and today I wanted to talk with something a little bit different. I wanted to talk about not making enough money, living paycheck to paycheck, and like not being able to afford things, like splurge on things, right? So I wanted to run through some things that I've learned that might be able to help you guys out as well, right? So back in the day, I used to live paycheck to paycheck. I had a $400 apartment. I didn't have a ton of cash in my account, right? I would literally be paycheck to paycheck. I still remember pulling out the highlighters. I had to print off my PNC checking account on a monthly basis, and I was trying to figure it out. I'm highlighting. I had different colors. I don't remember what the colors were, but one of them was for eating out. One of them was for bills, and one of them was things that I think I could cut out of my expenses, right? Eating out was a big part of that too. Like eating out was, it's like, okay, you got to eat, but how much can you spend here? And that sucks. It's like, okay, you're living paycheck to paycheck and you have to look at, okay, if I wanted to go get a good meal, I got to analyze this and budget it and be like, okay, I got to cut this out, things like that. So that's one of the things I want to talk about today, right? And I want to show you guys how I was able to change that as well. And I kind of stumbled upon it. So back in the day, we're talking like 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. My buddy Phil got me into digital marketing. He introduced me to it. He owned a digital marketing company and he was way ahead of his time. He used to go door knocking back in like the early 2000s selling SEO. I was never a tech person. I delivered pizzas. I worked at a hardware store. I was a waiter. I probably had 17 to 20 jobs before I was like 20 years old. And then I ended up working at Comcast, right? But what happened was I'm working all these jobs and living paycheck to paycheck, ended up ending in the insurance business. And my buddy Phil's over here doing digital marketing, working on his own schedule. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So now he took the approach of dealing with large companies, charging lots of money, and he was really, really successful at it. And I still remember the day I was sitting on a computer, I'm browsing around and a website pops up. It's called Odesk. It says you can now create a profile and people can hire you. So for anyone from back in the day that knows Odesk, it was Odesk and Elance, which now merged and turned into Upwork. I was just sitting there thinking, I'm like, what do I have to lose? I've been tinkering around with SEO. I never made money on it, but I saw how good Phil was doing. I was browsing places like there was forums called Warrior Forum. I remember I bought a $49 course on how to make a WordPress website, which looking back at it now, WordPress is super simple. You click a button and it's built. But back then I had to download the zip files, go in and change all the code. And it was ridiculous. Like I remember sitting there, my brain just hurt so bad. I'm at my kitchen table and I'm figuring out the code and I keep uploading it. It keeps not working, things like that. And I'm like, oh man, this really sucks. But I was making changes. I was making moves, trying to figure things out. So anyways, I come across Odesk, which is now Upwork, and I create a profile. And the reason I'm talking about this too is everybody has a skill set. And what you're doing during your day job might be it, might not be it. I don't know. And if you need extra money, there's abundance of money out there. So in my case, I was working 40 hours a week and then I stumbled upon Upwork and I created a profile. And what my profile said was, I will help you with your SEO on your website for $20. So this is what my profile looked like, right? Originally, my profile read a little bit differently, but this is what it was. Currently, I wouldn't even do work for $150 an hour now, but when I quit doing it on Upwork, I don't know, a couple years ago, it was $150 an hour. But that's not the important part. Check this out. So if you go down here, here's where I started. 2011, I still remember these guys. One of them was a jewelry store in Israel. Hired me $20 an hour. Worked for 5 hours, made $100. Like, okay, that's cool. Next person, $25 an hour, $45.75. That person just wanted to pick my brain. I believe like a lot of these people would hire me on how to optimize or create a content writing template, things like that for them. Then you see here, fixed price, $277. And look here, this is from June 6th to June 14th. I made like $400 and then also another $388. And this was just a medium that worked for me. Like there's many different ways to do this, but on Upwork, it worked really well for me. I created a profile and first I'm like, I don't even know if this is going to work, but I just tossed it up. And then people started hitting me up like, hey, can you help us with this? And there was a need. So first thing is you want to figure out is like, okay, do you have a skill? And there's a difference between skills on I'm really good at something that I like that should be a hobby, and I'm really good at something that people will pay me for. So that's one thing you're going to want to think about. I have lots of skills, but in this case, online, I'm really, really good at SEO and people will pay me to do that. So reason I'm sharing you this though, check this out. So I started in June 2011, charging $20 an hour. By July 2011, I'm charging $33 an hour. And then if you go to the next page, these are just real feedbacks. Then one person paid me $722, flat rate. Then I'm at $30 an hour. Then I'm at $500 an hour. That was like, I don't know why. That was probably like a fixed rate thing we had to do. And then if you look here, you just see all the feedback. But when it goes $30 an hour and then $27 an hour, fixed price, $500, $125. And then you see I got too busy working with people and I had to raise my rate. And what I did was I raised my rate to $150 because I was hoping people would quit writing me, wanting me to work for them. And this is the weirdest thing I learned. When I went from charging $30 an hour and I put on my profile $150 an hour, hoping people would quit writing me, I started getting more people wanting to hire me. I had to sell them less. And I'm not sure what it was that I just noticed when you charge more money, your value goes up and it's easier to sell people, right? So I went to $150 an hour, $170 an hour, and I stayed there. This was back in 2012. I went from, in 12 months, charging $20 an hour to $150 an hour. I billed like 869 hours. And this one task, this one thing I did, setting up a profile and just taking a shot at it, grew into being a freelancer, which then grew into an agency that I have called Think Big Marketing. I grew into that business, and then that business evolved into Motivated Leads a few years ago. So it's weird, like taking shots. One shot, I just slapped something up, took a shot there, put it up, and it just turned into a whole business, right? So here's why I'm bringing this up. I think anybody in the world can make as much money as they want. Right? And it's not necessarily about the money. It's about the lifestyle. Like, I think anybody can do whatever they want. I think a lot of people get held up on, you know what? I'm just an insurance agent. That's what I did for a long time. It's like, okay, you fall into it and then you're like, that's your job. And then you feel like you're trapped there because number one, you're living paycheck to paycheck or whatever you're doing. And you can't afford to take the shots, things like that. So you can't afford, okay, I'm going to go switch jobs. It's a big move there. In my case, I didn't have the nuts to do that. So I started on the side. So I started freelancing on the side, like I was just showing you, and scaled it up, right? Everybody has skills on the side they can do something with. If you're living paycheck to paycheck or you're trying to do something else, like look around, hop on sites like Upwork or different sites like that. Maybe you're a CPA or a bookkeeper and you work for somewhere. And as long as you don't have a non-compete, like go hit up some local businesses or anywhere online. I think even Upwork probably has things like that too. And do things like that on the side. So here's what my schedule was like. I worked 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, right? So for me to make this work, I had to wake up in the morning from like 6 in the morning till 9, 6 probably till like 8, I would work in the morning. I'd go to work 9 to 5. I'd come home, hang out. And then from like 7 to 9 or 7 to 10 o'clock at night, every night I'd be working as well. So and it made sense for me in the beginning. I was just messing around $20 an hour to see what happened. But once I started charging $150 an hour, like this was real money. I'm making more money working on the side hustle than on my day job. And that's where things get tricky also too. It's like, okay, you got a side hustle working. If you're making more money at your side hustle than your day job, what do? Like, do you leave the stability of your day job and go on a long shot on your side hustle and trying to make that into a career? Or do you keep your day job and keep your side hustle and that's all excess money? Because you figure if you can live on 40 hours a week on your day job, making whatever it is, all your side hustle money is bonus. So unless you go out and change your cost of living, all that money, you can save it. Like that's how I got into real estate. I saved all that money and then I put it into real estate, right? But a lot of times people will make extra money and they spend it all. So what I recommend is, I think I mentioned this before in the 5 Laws of Gold in Richest Man in Babylon book, like save a lot of it, hoard it, but then also allocate some. You can just splurge. You can go on a trip. Doesn't even matter. Things like that. So because you got 16 hours a day, 8 hours you're sleeping on average, 8 hours you're working. So you have an additional 8 hours. If you can't carve out a couple of those and see, but then you do have to make that decision though. There's going to be a tipping point. It's like if you're making $100,000 or $200,000 a year on your side hustle and your day job's making you 80, what are you going to do there? And I talk to a lot of guys too. I dealt with this myself and I talk to a lot of guys. Some guys are like, well, you know what? I can't switch until I have $100,000 in the bank. I can't make that move. But then when you get to $100,000 in the bank, it's like, you know what? I'm still not comfortable. So it does take balls. Like you got to like rip off the Band-Aid and jump in the pool and swim. And it is hard. I normally don't have a problem with doing things like that in life. Switching my freelance job and making that my career, that did take me a while. It took a long time, right? So anyways, a couple examples for you guys though. Like I know a couple guys that work in the TV stations, like local broadcast or Pittsburgh, whatever, and they edit videos. Start editing on the side. Take like an hour or two a week and stick up a profile on Upwork and start taking some gigs. You probably get 50 or $100 an hour for that stuff. Even if you like sales, like if you're a salesperson, get into wholesaling homes. Like if you enjoy hustle, things like that, go out there, start finding people with junky homes, fix them, and then just wholesale them. You're talking about finding a home. Once you find it, selling it to an investor like someone like me and making $10,000 or $20,000. That's a repeatable thing and it's big stuff and you can do it on your side. Everyone thinks, oh yeah, I want to get into real estate. I have to make that my career. Get out there and start driving for dollars. Like just get out there and start looking for things and just do it. You know what I mean? Like just try it out. I tried multiple things to make extra cash too, and most of them did not work. I tried flipping silver, like silver coins and bullion. That made money, but it's not a career money. It wasn't extra money. It allowed me to accumulate a collection of silver, things like that, but that's not real money there and it wasn't sustainable. But other things are. So I urge people, like, if you're in that situation, get out there, start doing things. You know what I mean? Now, here's what I'd recommend. Like, if you are going to do this, I got a couple things that I would look at, looking back at what I experienced, how I would look at this. So first, I would decide, okay, what do I like doing? Like, what do I like doing and that I'm good at? So I would look at, okay, what are my skill sets? Divide them into two categories. Skill set number one, boom. These are the things that give me energy, make me feel good, and I'm really good at. My other skills that go into the take my energy away, don't mess with those, right? Then once you decide that, look at your skills, say, okay, is there a market for this? Are there people that will give me money to do this? Okay, so say you're a musician. Say you really like music. It's really hard to make money playing music, right? It's like winning the lottery to like make it big. So that could fall into your giving you energy and things you're really good at. It's just you can't make money. That more falls in the lines of a hobby. But if you look at that in today's world, you can get online and get onto different websites and teach people how to play music, which could fall into your box of giving you energy and things you like to do and make money in that category. You're going to want to find that line. There's a fine line between things that should be hobbies and dreams and things that you can actually make money on. So number one, you want to make sure that it gives you energy. It's something you're really good at. It's things people will pay you for and you can actually do it, right? Here's some things that are going to happen once you start doing this. Like your friends and family are going to look at you. Anytime I've ever succeeded and like elevated in life, normally I get kickback, not necessarily because it's in a bad way, but I always feel pressure from friends and family. It's like, why are you doing that? Why are you changing? Things like that. Hey, are you cool? Like, are you going off the deep end? Like, what's happening? So anytime you start trying to change things, expect family, friends, things like that to give you some feedback, right? Another thing you're going to have is you're not going to have as much free time. But if you look at your current day, like my days were, I was watching too much TV and doing things that weren't really productive. So I didn't have as much free time. But in my free time, I wasn't doing anything anyways. I was watching Netflix or different things like that, right? Some other things you may have to face is maybe you're not a morning person. So I was not a morning person. This actually turned me into a morning person because what happened was I had to wake up early to get the work done before my job. And then by the end of night, like 9:30, I'm beat. So I naturally went to sleep. And then it just started becoming a cycle and I would naturally wake up early. So things like that, though, if you're not a morning person, you're going to want to think about that. Maybe you need to do things at night, or maybe you're going to turn into a morning person. So there's things like that. You're going to have a ton of failures. Like I'll bet you I probably tried over 50 different things to make money and they all failed, right? I always just told myself, just try one more time. It's like, okay, I failed. Some of the failures, like sometimes it takes like 3-4 months till you want to get back on the horse. But keep trying different things because you will figure it out if you don't quit. And to recap too, like you don't need a lot. Like if you want to get into the tech space, I started this podcast with a $100 Logitech camera and a laptop. A lot of people I talk to are like, yeah, I want to get into a podcast. I got to get this microphone. I get to get this setup, things like that. Needless to say, like this podcast isn't super fancy, but you can start doing things and then you can grow. Like whenever I was on Upwork, I started at $20 and I grew into $150. If I would have started thinking, oh, I need the computer, I need this, I need that, I need to do whatever, I probably wouldn't have started, and that snowball or the domino effect would not have happened. So I believe take a big step, like jump into that, right? It's going to be super uncomfortable. So I still kind of feel like this sometimes today. When I was freelancing, I would have jobs, but then they would stop, right? people hire you and then they go to the next things. So an analogy, I don't know if it's correct or not, but what I always felt like was I feel like I'm the fat guy at the buffet. So an all you can eat buffet, you can eat as much as you want, but I don't know when they're shutting it off. So that's what I always felt like. So I'm always sprinting. It's like, okay, I have to work as hard as I can now, because what happens whenever these clients disappear, right? Because when you're freelancing, you might only have 4 clients, 5 clients, sometimes 10. Sometimes you only have 1 or 2. So it's like, I always felt like the fat guy at the buffet. I'm like, man, I got to sprint as fast as I can, make as much money as possible, because I don't know if this is going to be done tomorrow. That's something you got to deal with too. I dealt with that for a long time. And then I just ended up just rolling with it. It's just like, okay, just keep doing it. Like, I keep having this feeling, but I'm still in business year after year after year. But those are some things you're going to experience, right? So what's winning look like? Like, if you do this, you need to know, okay, what's it going to look like if you're winning the game? Like, if you're doing well, you're going to find something that you can do that people will pay you for. Like, imagine not having to scrounge around. Like, you'll have extra cash and money and time, and you need to determine too, what's your goal? Like, is it more time? Is it more money? Is it financial freedom? Like, what is it? Whatever that goal is, if you're winning, you'll start seeing that that's happening. If you keep your day job and you don't increase your expenses, you'll start seeing your savings account increase dramatically. You'll be putting thousands of dollars in there per month. Like, most people are like, hey, you know what? I'm going to save $600 a month. And when I'm 65, I'll be a millionaire, or whatever it is. It's like, no, if you're doing the side hustle, you might be saving $10,000, $15,000 per month. You'll see real money coming in there once things escalate, right? Another thing is too, you're going to start hanging with different types of people. Like, the more successful you get, the different types of people, you'll be hanging around with like-minded people. You're not going to be talking about hanging out with people that are like, oh yeah, what's on Netflix? Talking about things like that. You're going to be talking with people like, hey, how do we elevate? How do we keep our health good? Faith, things like that. It will be different conversations you'll be gravitating towards, because you're going to be hanging out with people with common interest, right? Okay, so I know this episode was a little bit different than what we normally do, but let me know what you guys think. Leave some comments. Let me know, do you guys have side hustles? If so, what are they? And if you don't, do you have ideas on things that could be a side hustle that you could get into? Drop a link in the comment, or drop a note in the comments. Let us know what you think. Until next time, get out there, crush it, guys. Close some deals.